Hey guys, how are you? This is Ishai Breslower, your host of the CRE SharkEye Show. Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Yakir Saadia is with us today. Yakir just founded a company that is called Paraspot, and we're going to talk a lot about construction and about contact. That's why we're going to talk construction technology for those who are not that familiar, and we're going to dig into that. Yakir, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for inviting me, Shai. It's great to be here.
My pleasure, my pleasure. And I can't wait for this conversation. I know it's going to be great, and I know it's going to be intriguing. And I'm sure everybody's is gonna really be interested in listening to what you have to say. But before we even start, Paraspot, give us 2-minute elevator pitch what you guys are about.
I'll try to be even briefer. So we are an AI-powered property inspection platform. Now it sounds a lot, but basically what it means is that we enable property managers and operators to handle the whole guest or tenant turnover operations completely remotely. The operations that are conducted between someone moves out of the property until the next person moves in is an area that hasn't really evolved throughout the years. Today they need to go to the property, perform an inspection in person, fill out a report, take images, and then go back to the office and try to reconcile the changes and understand what they want to charge from the security deposit. With Paraspot, it's simple. They are empowering the tenants, their guests, to perform the scan, an AI-guided scan within Paraspot's platform. And in 90 seconds, they are done, and the property manager gets a report that shows them exactly what issues happened during the stay and what needs to be done to prepare for the next one.
Beautiful. We have a lot to ask you about. It's very interesting because it could be really revolutionizing the whole rental industry and how things work and so on and so forth. Here's the deal. Before we even dig into that, I want to talk about your history. Tell us because you look young, man. You look really young.
I am young. I appreciate that you say that because usually
how old are you? How old are you?
I'm 24.
It's good to be young. It's good to be young. Here's what I want to do. What I would like to do is the following. I would like you to tell us a little bit about your career previous to that. Even though you're young, how did you get to Paraspot? But before you get to Paraspot, what did you do? What did you study? Where did you go to? What got you to get into this field?
So it's not the ordinary path that someone from Israel is going through in order to get to where they are. I started off in tech when I was 18. I had no previous knowledge, no experience, even that didn't even learn it in high school. But I had a lot of drive and I had a lot of passion, and I got myself an opportunity in both hands and didn't give up on it. I told them that if they'll give me the opportunity, I will make it worth their while. And that's what happened. I started off at a startup company, doing just QA, manual work, and development work. After a couple of months of doing that, I grew to doing DevOps in their parent company. They saw potential in putting me in that position because I showed them that I can learn really quickly and I'm agile and I can work with new technologies better than most people. And also for a company in a cost-effective manner. So once they gave me that opportunity, that's where I started growing in tech and evolving my knowledge and evolving my way throughout my career. And while I was doing DevOps engineering, I opened myself to more and more development languages, more and more development softwares and platforms. And then that's when I discovered image processing. And I really just fell in love with this whole area because I felt like there aren't enough solutions in that space, and it felt really technological. So once I started there, I couldn't not get to computer vision. And then after doing some projects there and doing some freelance work in that area and doing some work also in some of the companies that I've been operating in, I came up with Paraspot. Paraspot started off as something completely different than what it is today.
What was it?
As every startup goes, through their idea process. It goes through a lot of ideation, and it pivoted a lot. We started off as basically a search platform for the European industry, like there is Zillow for the US, but a little bit different, in using the AI and computer vision algorithms that we have developed in-house to generate another layer of information about the property and about its location, to help people make informative decisions, because the whole searching platforms in the European industry is quite deprived of technology in difference than the US. Once we got started, and we focused mostly on Germany back then, I was in Berlin with the people, with the clients, with the realtors, with the property managers that put in the rentals in the platforms and everything. And that's where I learned about the big pain that they had. I guess I knew it before because my family comes from real estate and hospitality, so I dealt with it in the past, but I never dealt with it in my adult life as someone that also is aware of the technology that we have today, computer vision, AI, and all those works. So once I figured that sort of pain out, the property managers couldn't really communicate with us at the end of the month and at the beginning of the month because they were so preoccupied with so much work. They had to manage so many properties, and every end at the beginning of the month, they had people checking out, people checking in, moving in, and they had to prepare the property and still navigate between all those properties that are located in so many different places. And that's where we revealed the big pain that they have there.
So let me make it very clear. What you did was get an idea of coming and solving some data problem. And then you said, you know what? There's bigger pain I can find with the transition between tenants.
That's true. I mean, it was in general just managing the property.
And you said to yourself, property management wastes too much time on figuring out what's wrong with the property and what do I have to do in order to get my next tenant. That's what you found.
The deal with the real estate industry is that although it's a huge market and a huge industry, it's not that laden with solutions, unique tech.
That's right.
With latest technology. And I found it really odd because my family comes from real estate. Real estate is one of the most things that I know. And still, when I see it and I look at it, it just gave me an itch just looking at it and feeling like it should be done in a different way. So once we were there and I saw it, and of course, when it comes to doing a marketplace B2C or doing something B2B, where we saw also a lot of potential in growing the company and really helping a lot of people and a lot of companies in the industry, we saw so much potential there that we decided to pivot after doing quite some research about it, of course. And after doing that, in a few months, we already launched our product because we already had most of our algorithms in place from our previous platform. And we just tried to launch it really quickly, get our footing there, understand more about what they need, what they want, and what they want to see, and continue to grow it. And that's what we did. So we are already live now for almost a year with clients in Europe and the US, and the company is growing quite fast.
One second, we'll get to the ins and outs, meaning we'll get to what step by step.
Sure.
What I want to do is to go back for a second to the point where you found the pain. And that is a very, very important point, because if you could describe what type of a pain there is, what am I talking about? I'm talking about the fact that there's the transition, what we spoke about, highlighted. The question is, what is the pain point in terms of the timing? You're talking about what? A day, two, few hours that can be resolved in X and amount. What is the pain that you are coming to solve?
So yeah, that's a good question. At the end of the day, to perform the property inspections today, they need to go to the property. And as long as it requires any physical attendance there, it's becoming a growth pain for companies that are trying to expand themselves, and even just operational pain for companies that are trying to stay efficient in their operational cost. So That's one of the biggest pains. And then the second layer of it is the security deposits. When you manage a property, you have a time crunch to release the security deposit. In some states, it's different in the US between the states, but in general, it can be up to a month usually. And it's also different between industries. But they have a time crunch to release the security deposits. And then if there is a disagreement, then it goes into a dispute. And some research, and you'll see some research that will show you that 40% of the security deposits go to dispute. And that's a huge number that also burns out a lot of resources for those property management companies. And it all happens because in this part of the operation, there is a lot of lack of transparency and communication. They don't give you a clear view of what happened, what you've caused, because they don't keep track on it in the same way that they keep track on it when they use us.
We have a certain amount of time that it takes, with all the ins and outs and possible disputes and possible, discussions that make, this whole transition may cause.
Yeah.
Your technology, I want to know how long it takes in order to get the results, in order to understand what the problem is, and what type of technology is it? Meaning, we understand it's AI,
Sure.
but explain the technology and the timing and how fast it is and what's the wow effect? That's what I want to know.
So it's quite interesting. I mean, for the most technological guys, they will really find to liking the fact that we have some AI that is running on the client's device. When you open it on your web page, it will run some AI models in order to save on communication with our servers and make it more efficient so it can run faster without any problems. But the technology that we are using is computer vision in general, image processing a lot, and computer vision, which is a segment of AI. The time that it takes us to generate a report really depends on the length of the video, the scan, but it takes a couple of minutes. And also important to mention, I don't think that we mentioned that earlier, it doesn't require any hardware, doesn't require any mobile application. It's from just a website. It's just a website. They open up a website, temporary link, and we have an AI guided scan that leads them in real time on how to scan the property. They don't really have time to think about it. They don't really have time to try and see what they need to do. It just leads them and they just go over the instructions.
It sounds a little bit too good to be true, but I believe you. I want to ask you, let's say this. Okay, I have my phone. Okay, here's my phone. I want to walk around. I open the website and I want to take the pictures to scan the property, right?
Yeah.
If I'm an inspector, it would take me, let's say, 20 minutes to go through the property, give or take.
A bit more.
I'm talking about a small apartment, okay? If you're in a bigger apartment, yes, you're right. It could be 40 minutes also, okay? But let's say the walkthrough. You go through the apartment.
Let's go for it, yeah.
And then you come with your phone and you scan the apartment. That takes how long? A few minutes, literally.
Yeah, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, and the scan is done. The upload is also really fast, and it's unaffected by your network connection. Even if you start performing the scan, and in the middle of the scan you're getting disconnected completely, you're completely offline, it won't stop the scan, it won't interrupt the scan. You will be able to continue to perform the scan, and then once you get to the upload and you get to a better network location, you can upload it and it won't affect anything.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And tell me something, and on your end, what happens? Meaning you have it scanned and then it's sent to your systems, and what does your system do?
Our system are doing some analysis on the scan. They detect the inventory, they detect damages that it finds. It tries to track all of it throughout the scan, and then it tries to match it to previous scans and to the last scan in order to tell them exactly what happened between the last scan and now, basically in the last state, because that's what they care about. They don't care about how many things they have in their inventory. They care about if they have any missing inventory or extra inventory, or if they have any new damages. And that's what we're doing.
So there needs to be basically two scans. That's what you're saying. There needs to be a scan when the tenant goes in, and there needs to be a scan when the tenant leaves. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Did I get it right? Got it.
It's not necessary, but it's recommended, yeah, because that way it's involving the tenant on both the beginning and the end, and they get more control over it, but still it's completely in the control of the property manager.
And what if I got your technology and it's the first time I use it, and I use it for the first time? There's one scan. I'm walking around, I scan the property, and there's no before and after. That's what I'm saying. What does that mean in terms of what of the service?
What do you mean by there is no before and after?
Your before is what? Is prior to the tenant leaves, and then after? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Explain.
Let me explain how the process works. So once we start working with the client and we are onboarding the properties, of course we are syncing with the PMS, so everything will be already in place once they get started. PMS is a property management software, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know. But once they get the properties there and they want to onboard it, they are doing a baseline scan. They need to do it only once, and then once they are doing it, they are making the decision on how the scan needs to be done, and they are also showing how the property should look like in the most optimal way. That way, it's a reference point for us to understand if there are any organization issues.
Beautiful. First of all, I love that. And that answers the question. Basically, you onboard the client, you go through, let's say it has 250 units, you go through all the units, you go through the entire thing, and your system gives an analysis of what's going on. The property manager would tell you, listen, the optimal situation I want for the property would be X and Y and Z, meaning that's what should be implemented. Then your guys implement it into the system. How does it work? Meaning, or
no, they are simply. This needs working in a really simple way. It doesn't need to be too complicated. The properties are already there and they want to onboard it. Someone checks out. They don't need to wait for anything. They just send the property inspection and the property inspectors that are already doing the inspection, and then they are doing just the 90 seconds or whatever, how long they want, of a baseline scan, and then it's already onboarded. Then when the next guest comes in, they can do the check-in inspection and the checkout inspection. And then they will know exactly what issues happened during the stay. And then if they want to have more control over it, and they want to also see after the cleaning crew arrives and they want to see that it's ready for the next person, they can also have the cleaning crew do it, and then also have some quality assurance work on the cleaning and maintenance teams to make sure that they do their work and prepare it for the next guest. It's complete oversight for the property manager.
Tell me something. I want to talk construction a little bit. Your system, meaning your scan, what does it see? Can you give us like a little bit of examples? What do you see through?
So, yeah, definitely. I mean, we map out the entire property. We map out its structure. We are mapping out what is included in it, whether it's some amenities or inventory items or anything like that. And we are also mapping out the condition of the structure, the condition of the flooring, ceiling, and all item in the inventory. Meaning that if you have a scratch on the wall or a stain on the sofa, we will see it and we will let you know, or we will find out about it. This is how we are operating. And we can track and match everything that we find to previous detections.
Tell me something. You just say structure. Structure most times are not visual. They are, behind the wall, inside the wall, under the floor, above the ceiling. It's all covered, right? There's the facade, there's the plaster, there's the sheetrock, whatever it is. You don't see structure. So how do you guys get to understand what's going on in terms of
So we only see what's on the surface. We don't see what goes on behind the wall. Yeah, I mean, we would be happy to, but the technology is not there yet, and we are trying to make it as simple as possible so it doesn't require any hardware. If we would have used some significant hardware, then it would have been possible to try and map it out using our technology.
So the technology is designed for property management meaning I'll be specific, for multifamily, most part. It could be also office. It could be also retail. But it's basically, it's designed for landlords that meaning in order to see the condition of the property, in order to get it, I would say the visual part of it, the flooring, if there are scratches on the wall, if all kind of things are showing that, or the carpeting has to be changed, or whatever it is, something in the kitchen has to be fixed. So instead of looking at every little thing, the camera catches it in seconds. I got it.
Yeah, and then they see everything with before and after, so they can know exactly what goes on there. And they can also then export it to a PDF or something that they can share back with the guest or tenant. And then they can also use our platform to share and report back to the property owner. Because at the end of the day, the property management company usually isn't the owner, and they need to report back to someone.
So Yakir, we obviously met at a conference in Israel, and you guys are based in Israel, but you operate all over the world. And tell us a little bit about the startup aspect of it. You guys started here. You're giving service to which country? You spoke about Berlin. Which countries are you guys penetrating? Of course, most of the people listening to this podcast are in the U.S., so I'm sure that they are intrigued and would like to know where you guys operate and how. Go ahead.
So we operate in the U.S. We operate in a few states already in the U.S. and also around Europe, in France, UK, Portugal, Spain, Germany. I think I forgot a few. Probably also Poland really soon. That's mostly it, But we also have in the pipeline for companies that are all around the world, also Asia.
So you penetrated the markets all over the world. And in terms
we started off a little bit opportunistic. I mean, sorry for interrupting, but it's as a startup, when you're trying to get your first proof of concept showing that people need it and companies want to use it and it has some value, you want to bring in clients from wherever, however, just getting clients. So we pulled off our network. We tried to see where we can get clients, and then we started getting clients in Europe, in the US, and took whatever we can get.
Tell me something. What is the reaction of the clients? Tell me a little bit about that.
The first reaction that I guess most people will have is that they are just can't really believe completely that it can do this. That's why usually what we do with our clients is after a first call where we showcase everything, we let them immediately test it. Because once they get the feeling of it and once they see the report and how quickly it gets and how good it's actually how accurate it is, then all of the conflicts are just off the window. And it's on to how we onboard it, how we do it, and how we implement it. At the end of the day, those companies, especially in today's financial situation, people are trying to save on operational costs, and it can save them immediately a lot of money on the operations and also give them more access to security deposits.
How much does it save? If you have to
I mean, if I have to put a finger on it, it really depends, of course, on the size of the company, obviously, and also on the vertical. Because if it's short-term rental, then they have more turnovers meaning that it costs them more. And if it's long-term rentals, then they do it once every year, once every couple of years, and then it's completely different. Today, we are focusing mostly on the short and mid just because it was a better go-to-market strategy, faster deal flow, and the higher need. But for the short-term rental companies, it can save around 27.5% on the operation cost in that phase. And for mid-term rental companies, it can be around 85%, 80%. We did an ROI calculation for a huge mid-term rental company in the space that has an average of 6 months to stay. They are operating in a lot of countries, and we showed them that we saved them approximately 85% on their operational cost, and everything was accurate on the numbers that they have.
Amazing. I think it's incredible. Tell me something. You guys are a startup. You tell us a little bit about where you are as a startup, in terms of the raise, in terms of going to the market. You told us a little bit about it, but in terms of, your aspirations, of course, are very high as every other startup. But where you guys are holding today, where you see yourself in the next few months and years? And how does it work for you guys?
So yeah, today we are growing quite fast because we are showing up on a lot of blog posts and articles and also events around the world in the pop tech industry and the short term and the mid-term rental industry. So we expand ourselves quite fast. Just in the past month, we doubled the amount of clients that we have, and we are hoping to double to 4x our revenues by the end of July. In the next few months, we are hoping to complete our seed fundraising round, and we are also hoping to launch a pilot for consumers where they can use our system to protect themselves from deposit fraud. Because that way, when they are involved and they are doing the scan in the beginning and the end, they know exactly what issues happen, and they can protect themselves in case of disputes on the deposit. Of course, for companies that are not operating with us.
Right, obviously. I want to know, you guys, okay, it sounds beautiful. It's image processing, it's AI, it's beautiful. Question is, do you guys have an IP? Is it proprietary? Yes or no? And another question is, are there other people who do that? And you have competitors, and what differentiates you from everybody else?
Sure. So all of the technology we have developed ourselves. Me and my team have worked hard and for many years on that, even before Paraspot has became Paraspot. So that's about the IP. And regarding competitors, so there are some companies in the space that are doing property inspection platform. None of them are using AI to automate the entire process and make it remote. All of them are focusing mostly on manual work, going through side-by-side pictures or using checklists and integrations. This is where the industry is at right now. The problem with the property inspection world is that it remained as what we like to call it, a glorified checklist. We started off with a pen and paper, going to the property, checking for any issue, writing it down. And the whole evolvement of technology just took the pen and paper and placed it on a smartphone. That's it. And that's why also most of the companies that are operating in that space today just focus on the multifamily, single-family homes and the long-term rental. Because when it comes to that amount of manual labor, they can really deal with the amount of turnovers that you can see in the short-term and in the mid-term rental industry. Just doesn't make sense anymore to go through hundreds of pictures side by side to realize by yourself if there is any issue. I tried it once. It doesn't really work.
Too much. I'm going to ask like a crazy question. Who is your ideal client today? Is it Airbnb operators? Is it a specific operator that you aim for? And if they listen to this, I don't know if they will, but maybe they would say, this is exactly the solution that we need, and it doesn't exist there for us. Who is your supreme client that you can actually entertain today?
Our ideal client will be a property management company that manages at least 100 properties and that their rental duration is less than a year. This is the ideal type. Of course, we are accepting clients that are with less than 100, and of course, we are accepting clients that are with more than 1 year. But when we are focusing on our own, like direct sales outreaches, it's going to be on that area.
Why?
And regarding
so I have a big question.
Yeah, sure.
For you, because you said short-term rentals. Short-term rentals are not a year or a little less than a year. Short-term rentals are weeks,
short and mid.
Days.
I mean, short-term rentals are up to 1 month of stay, and mid-term rentals are 1 month to 1 year. Short and mid is the reason we are focusing on short and mid is because they both have a great need for that. The pain is enormous. They have a lot to deal with when it comes to handling those turnovers. They have all of their properties are furnished in those sort of cases. So it also brings in the value of maintaining the inventory and damages to the inventory, which makes the whole inspection process even harder. That's why we decided to focus on them. And by the way, even in Airbnb, you have the option to rent something for over a month.
Right. But here's the question. You mentioned 100 properties, give or take, and about a little less than a year. So what if I tell, but it sounds to me, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but it sounds like you're better for those who are short rentals, meaning someone goes in, goes out, meaning he scans the place, after, let's say, people leave after 3 days or after 3 weeks, scans it, poof, he knows the answers, something's wrong, something's not wrong, let's move on. Am I missing something here?
I mean, I said that because that's like the ideal customer that we will try to reach when we are trying to find a client. But we can accept and companies can make use of us as long as they have the move out and moving process to deal with. So it can be multifamily, long term, single family, short, mid, it can be everything. But in aspect of a small startup company that needs to be efficient with its resources, we have to focus our sales team on something that can have a faster deal flow and something that once the deal is closed, it can bring in a good amount of money.
I got it. Fair answer. Fair answer. I got it. Beautiful. Yakir, it's a pleasure talking to you. I want to tell everybody, you guys can learn about Yakir. You probably see the links above or below. Yakir, please tell everybody how they can find you, if it's a website, if it's LinkedIn, if it's both. Go ahead.
So yeah, you can find us online, Paraspot in Google, paraspot.co or .de will work as well. You can find me and Paraspot on LinkedIn. My name is Yakir Saadia, AA. And yeah, it was a pleasure to be here, Ishai.
It's a pleasure talking to you. And we learned so much about ComTech and about construction tech. And it's not only, it's property management tool that really allows property management companies and asset management companies that, want to become property management companies, and they are afraid of doing those aspects. And they're saying to themselves, wow, there are solutions out there that can help me become a lot more efficient. I need less manpower and save a lot of money from it, within this whole process. I really thank you. Thank you so much. It was really interesting discussion.
Thank you.
Stick around. You guys, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to see you